The city of Temecula on April 23rd, 2019, decided to put forth a proposal, Temecula, California, a proposal to be a constitutional city. And in that proposal, they indicated that socialism, communism is a threat to the American way of life. The proposal was shot down when dozens of socialists showed up at the city council chambers to protest against this. And some of the arguments were things like, well, if you think socialism is the enemy, and I believe in socialism, do you consider me the enemy? And I'm one of your constituents. I'm one of your members of your community. And they also redefined socialism. They said things such as, well, you already have socialism. You have government-paid roads. You have fire and police services. All right, so now let's get things straight here. Socialism is control of the means of production by way of government ownership. Government owns the means of production, and then from there, government winds up controlling everything because they control the means of production. Fascism is the same thing, except for instead of controlling the means of production by owning it, they do it through heavy regulation. Now, is socialism and the U.S. Constitution compatible? Was the city of Temecula correct in proposing what they proposed? Well, from a federal standpoint, now let me back up a little bit. Something else that the socialists in the stands, in the audience, argued was that socialism is not in the Constitution, and there's nothing in the Constitution that says that this country cannot be socialist. Now, to me, most people seem to think that the Constitution is the preamble and the Bill of Rights, and that's it. And since the Bill of Rights is different than the main body of the Constitution, the main body of the Constitution is about granting the federal government authorities or prohibiting those, prohibiting authorities to the states. 10th Amendment. If an authority is not granted to the federal government, nor prohibited to the state, then it's a state authority. Now, at the federal level, it doesn't matter if socialism, first of all, is listed or not in the Constitution. There is no authority granted to the federal government allowing the federal government to own or control the means of production. Therefore, at the federal level, socialism is unconstitutional because the authority is not granted to the federal government. Now, when it comes to the states and the cities, we go to Article 4, Section 4 of the U.S. Constitution, where it says that the United States shall guarantee to each state a Republican form of government. Now, the argument is, well, it doesn't define what a Republican form of government is. That's why you go to the debates and the ratification conventions and all of that. You look for the original definitions based on those discussions. And what you find is that they were fully aware of socialism. It wasn't called that yet. But socialism is not something that emerged when Karl Marx emerged. This is something that's been around since the dawn of time. The Pilgrims tried it, Jamestown tried it, and in both cases the people starved until the system was changed from a communal system into a system of you keep more of what you earn, a free market. The Adam Smith called it the invisible hand. There's an invisible hand in the free market that regulates the market because method of laissez-faire is being used. In other words, allowing it to take its own course without government interference. The terms for socialism back then was utopianism, communalism, and communitarianism. And the redistribution of wealth was called the schemes of leveling. Once again, they were fully aware of socialism, and it did not fit their definition of a Republican form of government. A Republican form of government is the type of system originally intended by the U.S. Constitution that allows for full freedom not only when it comes to our basic liberty, but a laissez-faire economic system. Liberty and a laissez-faire free market system go hand in hand. Socialism always leads to tyranny, always leads to starvation, always leads to death. Always. Now, I'm not saying that the free market system is perfect in every way. But what happens is when greed does emerge, a corporation, for example, does become very large, eventually it becomes too big for its britches, and through laissez-faire, the consumer adjusts the market. And eventually that large corporation can't do business anymore. The consumer has decided they don't want to anymore, and it breaks off, or smaller competitors emerge, and so on and so forth. Laissez-faire. Allow things to take their own course with as little federal influence as possible. Now, that is not to say that there should be no federal influence or governmental influence. Governmental laws should be in place that disallow us from stealing from each other or committing corrupt types of acts. We have laws that allow for patents and copyright and things like that also, which are government interference. That's not socialism. That's government taking a role in the overall order of society. Now, that said, we want less, if possible, government influence. Usually more is not good. That said, that does not mean that we should be in anarchy. It does not mean that we should go to socialism. Our Constitution, our Republican form of government, is a mixed constitution or mixed system. There are elements of every little system in there. There's no pure democracy, there's no pure aristocracy, there's no pure monarchy, and there's definitely no pure socialism. Now, if there's anything that does involve government influence, that's not socialism. That is government taking its role in the overall system. So let's get back to police and fire. The socialists will say, well, that's a form of socialism. No, it's not. It is a government service that is offered. It could be private. It's better if it's a government service. Now, of course, there can be flaws, such as we've got the pension problem, things like that going on. And that's something as a society we need to resolve. But that is not socialism. This country was never intended to be socialist. And Temecula was right in proposing, because one of the other arguments was, hey, Temecula, you're a city. Don't get involved in politics. Handle your local issues. Well, Temecula is a general law city, which means it must follow the state constitution and state policies and what the state is required to do. Well, if, according to Article 4, Section 4, the state is required to be a Republican form of government, then as a general law city, the city is required to abide by that. And all the resolution was the resolution saying, hey, we agree, and we abide by that. We proclaim that, yes, we agree with Article 4, Section 4 of the United States Constitution that the state of California must be a Republican form of government, and therefore our resolution says we support that, we are a part of that, and we will defend that. Nothing wrong with that at all. That's not bringing partisan politics in the city. And then the other thing that cracked me up is, think about this for a second. The socialists were arguing, angry, that a political body was getting political. It's a political body. That's what they do. All right, that said, this is about a week out. The making of this video is about a week out from that. It's April 30th. And they have asked me to rewrite the resolution. I'm going to do so. So if you want to learn more about it, look it up. Temecula, Temecula, City Council, Proposal, Constitutional City. You can look up the original fight and proposal by looking up the April 23rd City Council meeting. It's actually on YouTube. and look for something else afterwards. You might see me involved. I plan to be there to make sure that Temecula lives up to its general law requirement of abiding by the requirement that California maintains a Republican form of government, not a socialist one. If you have any questions, constitutionspeaker@yahoo.com, constitutionspeaker@yahoo.com. You can also donate to my cause to help me with the videos and all the other things I do by going to douglasvgibbs.com or politicalpistachio.com. You can see the see over there too. The web address is there at the bottom of the screen. Also, I am a writer. There's 7 books out now. My latest, A Promise of American Liberty, came out a couple weeks ago. I think my most popular and biggest seller has been 7 Worst Constitutional Liars, which I wrote, became available a year ago, April of 2018. My first book, 25 Myths of the United States Constitution, has done very well. Go to douglasvgibbs.com/books.php or just look up Douglas V. Gibbs on either Barnes & Noble or Amazon, and you can find my books. And you can help out the cause there by buying the books. They are also available in Kindle form for those of you who don't do the pages and you want the electronic device. That's fine. We do not have audiobooks yet, but the requests are in, and we plan to hopefully in the near term get all these books into a audible form. That all said, thank you for watching this video on socialism. And always remember, stay safe, stay patriotic, and yes, stay constitutional. We'll see you next time. Thanks for watching.